That's when this man reveals he is an FBI agent, and he wants to ask my dad some questions about a suspicious murder. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or to it if this is the first time you are seeing my face. Thank you so much for clicking on it. My name is Jacy, and I just hit 10,000 subscribers. Woo! Thank you guys so much for continuing to support me. Hopefully this is my year that more people will see my videos and story times, because I have a crazy story for you guys. I was just talking to my dad and I said, oh, I need more stories. I gotta reach out to more people. And my dad goes, I have a story. Well, never mind. And I was like, Dad, what are you talking about? And he said, I've never told anyone this story, so never mind. And I was like, Dad, tell me the story. Tell me the story. This strange little man proceeds to tell me the wildest story from his teenage years that I begged him to let me tell this story. And he was so hesitant because it involves the FBI. Although you probably already knew that from the thumbnail. So if you like stories or just hanging out with me and want to hear more about strange occurrences in mine and other people's lives, make sure to like this video. It really helps me out, as well as subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Join the other 10,000 people who seem to like my videos. But with that being said, let's just hop into this story of my dad getting into some crazy shenanigans that involved the FBI. So before we get started, it is helpful to know that my dad is a little old man. He is now 70 years old, and this story takes place when he was a mere 18 years old. So that would make the year 1970. That took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out. So my dad was 18 years old, and he was one of those kids that just had a bunch of odd jobs growing up. You know, he would mow lawns, he was a golf caddy, he worked at his dad's bodega. And for this specific time period, he was actually working for an event center. And this usually meant setting up tables and chairs and catering supplies for large events. And one of his roles, having had a license, was to actually deliver a lot of chairs and tables to these specific event spaces. So it was just another day at work, and he was going to deliver a bunch of tables and chairs to some sort of place. So he drives to the address that was provided in his paperwork, and he notices it is a large corporate building with an armed security guard outside. And he was like, whoa, what kind of ritzy event is this gonna be for assassins? That's concerning. He goes to the security guard and says, hi, I'm delivering these tables and chairs for an event. And the security guard doesn't necessarily have a list of events at this corporate building for the day. And he sees that he does have a delivery truck of tables and chairs. And he said, okay, the freight elevator is that way. I think you're going to level 5. And my dad was like, okay, sounds good. He takes quite a little bit of time to obviously load all of the tables and chairs into this large elevator, and then he presses floor number 5. So he's going up this freight elevator up to the 5th floor, the doors open, and my dad freezes and goes goo-goo-eyed because in this room are thousands and thousands and thousands of stacks of dollar bills just lined up on tables. And immediately he's thinking, holy crap, did I just walk into some drug lord's office, or the Joker making some sort of social commentary, or the Kardashians just stacking up their money and not helping society with their crazy billions of wealth and richnesses? That's probably not what he was thinking in 1970, but you get the idea. And there's a table directly in front of him with just a bunch of bands of money. And he said he had like a little bit of thought of, oh my gosh, should I just like pocket one of these bands? Which, I don't know the amount of money that comes in a band, but if they're $100 bills, I can imagine it's like $1,000 to $10,000 in one of these bills. And considering there are hundreds, one little band won't go missing, right? Not like I could get killed by a drug lord for taking one, I don't think. However, my dad doesn't even have time to give it a second thought, because all of a sudden he is swarmed with all of these armed guards, and they're like, who are you? How the hell did you get in here? Who let you up here? Who are you? And my dad, being an 18-year-old kid with all these tables and chairs, is like, I'm dropping these off. And that's when he notices the little logo on the breast of their shirt, and it says Brinks. Now, Brinks is a security service provider to a bunch of retailers, businesses, the government. Basically, they're those armored trucks that deliver money. I know with a lot of my serving jobs, we would always have a Brinks guy come in and he's all vested out with all these unsealable bags, and he would remove all of the cash from the restaurant and like bring in more bills. I don't know, I was never that high up to know exactly what they did, but that is the company that my dad realizes that's where he entered, and that's why there are hundreds of thousands of dollars stacked up in this room. They're not necessarily a bank, but he knows that they're the ones who transport that money, and that's why there's just dollar bills hanging around. So he informs them, I'm here to deliver all these tables and chairs. They said, show me your paperwork. Who allowed you to get in here? Are you sure you have the right address? They took a look at his paperwork, which he handed to them, and they said, ya dum-dum, you're one number off for the address. You need to be at the Marie Callender's next door. You went to the wrong address. And my dad's looking at the paper being like, oh yeah, that makes more sense. They did say it was like a dinner, so sorry, my bad. But the Brinks security was not happy about this because my dad should not have seen this room and should not have even gotten the temptation to steal a band or two. So they check his pockets, nothing's there, and they said, you need to get out of here. So some bulletproof vested dudes are riding the elevator down with him and making sure that he exits the building without any sort of trouble. So once he's outside, my dad has to do the laborious task of now bringing the tables and chairs to Marie Callender's. And he's not gonna like load up the truck and go next door. So he's kind of just like going back and forth, taking the long route, delivering these tables and chairs. On one of the trips back to collect the tables and chairs, he kind of gets this weird spidey sense of something going wrong because outside of this building of Brinks were some of their classic armored trucks. But he sees a couple of guys wearing ski masks. And as an 18-year-old kid living in Cleveland as a black man, he was kind of like, that's suspicious. I should probably exit this area. So he quickly gathers all of his remaining equipment, moves it towards Marie Callender's, and just stays out of the area. That's when you hear a pop, 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 and he knows not to go back to that area. So he didn't really think much of it. He may have said that he got in trouble with his work for being late with his delivery, but never really thought about it again. If anything, he went and told his friends, dude, you guys, I accidentally went into this Brink security and just saw hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he emphasized to me that it was such an exorbitant amount of money that it was beyond belief and not something that he ever expected to see in his life. I tried to find a photo reference to see if like it lined up with what he saw. And the more that I showed him these photos of references, the more he was like, no, it was more money than that. No, it was more stacks of that. No, it was even more that it would blow your mind. So a few weeks pass and he gets a call from the police department asking to come in for some questioning about a recent death of an armed guard of the Brink Security Services building. And my dad's like, are they accusing me of murder right now? So he goes down to the station, but instead of a typical police officer, he sees a nice man in a very luxurious suit sitting down in this room, ready to question him. The man begins his questioning saying, what were you doing at this building on this date? And my dad said, oh, I was delivering some tables and chairs, but I was at the wrong address, and that's pretty much it. And they were like, okay. What did you see when you went up to this floor? And my dad described the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they were like, interesting. What did you see when you left the building? And my dad was like, as I was redistributing these tables and chairs, I did notice these two guys around the armored trucks. That's when this man reveals he is an FBI agent, and he wants to ask my dad some questions about a suspicious murder. He informed my dad that on that day, that armored vehicle that my dad saw was robbed by two armed men, and they ended up killing the driver. That's when this FBI agent kind of starts getting a little accusatory, being like, it is really suspicious that you accidentally went to the wrong business and perhaps created a distraction while this crime was taking place. And my dad's like, whoa, 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 I'm just some 18-year-old kid. I accidentally got the address wrong. Like, I don't know what you're talking about here, but that's absolutely incorrect. After a little bit of questioning and kind of fleshing out the details, this FBI agent understands that my dad was not involved. It was really wrong place, wrong timing. However, he does understand that my dad may have seen something and could be a witness in this trial. Now, during this time, they didn't have any suspects, but they kind of let my dad know that, hey, if we catch these guys, would you be able to identify them? And my dad's thinking like a classic police lineup that like, yeah, it'd be those guys. But he's also thinking, I don't know if I can. They were like in ski masks, so not really sure, but I can try to help however I can. Again, in his mind, he's a teenager trying not to get in trouble and being like, I seriously didn't do this. How else can I prove it to you guys? And so he agreed. So eventually, they find the two suspects and charge them with the crime of murder and burglary. So they call up my dad and said, hey, we're charging these two guys. Would you be able to be a witness in this trial? And my dad's like, a witness in a trial? I thought I would just be trying to identify them. That's when this FBI agent, I don't mean to laugh, but it is serious, but it is kind of crazy to think about. The FBI agent says the following: if you testify in this trial, we can provide you protection. We can give your family new identities, we can help you move, and we can ensure your safety as this trial commences. They wanted my dad to go into witness protection program just to be a witness in this trial. And that is when my dad folds and says, oh, hell nah, I didn't see anything that day. I was just trying to deliver these tables and chairs. They were in ski masks. I will be able to provide no help to you. And no, I do not consent to being a witness in this trial because I simply didn't see anything. My dad could have joined the witness protection program, maybe never have met my mom, maybe had never have had me born, or perhaps I could have had a different name and be living in West Virginia for all I know, all because he witnessed this crazy armored truck robbery. Isn't that crazy? And so he said that that was kind of the end of it. The FBI never really contacted him again, and he said he looked no further into it. I was asking my dad like, oh, were the guys tried and were they convicted? My dad says, I have no idea. I wanted nothing to do with that case. I did not want my life to be upended. I feel so bad for this person who was murdered and that this armored truck was burglarized, but I needed to distance myself as much as humanly possible. And I was like, Dad, that is very understandable. So I'd like to think that because they caught the suspects, that they were tried and convicted and didn't need my dad's witness testimony. I do find it interesting that he may not have been subpoenaed because I'm pretty sure the courts can do that whether or not you agree to be in court. But I think because he was just an 18-year-old kid, they considered him an unreliable witness. And I don't know. This is all my dad's recounting. Again, he's a little old man, so maybe he's not getting the details right. And he was so concerned about telling this story, even though it's 50 years later, that he didn't want to bring up any sort of FBI case or be a witness again. So don't tell the FBI that my dad could have been involved in a case. He wasn't. I don't know why I said involved. He wasn't a distraction. Can I emphasize that? He wasn't a distraction for these two burglars. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So never talk about it again. But that's the crazy story of how my dad got involved with the FBI and almost needed to join witness protection program. I have no other details of the case. I'm not even sure this really happened. He could be a senile old man just telling me crazy tall tales at bedtime. Who knows? But Dad, it did make for one crazy story. If you guys have ever had any crazy run-ins with the law, with police officers, or with the FBI, I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your court cases. I want to hear if you ever needed to join witness protection program. You probably can't tell me that, but in case anyone's out there, I want to know. And once again, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Any sort of engagement helps. I know I've been doing some heavy-handed videos in my most recent uploads, but we're getting back to the stories, to some of the crazy ones, some of the funny ones, so I'm looking forward to it. But I thank you guys so much for continuing to support me and watch these videos. I will see you in the next one. Toodles! But I thank you guys oh my God. What the hell was that? Can't even do the outro that I do every freaking video without choking. Let's try that again.